Life is all about decisions, but what most people don't know is that you can't make good decisions without understanding the laws of human nature. And they don't teach you that in school. In this video, we're going to look at the hidden side of human nature that you need to understand in order to become a good decision maker. Our irrational behavior. We like to think of ourselves as being rational, but in reality, we tend to make decisions based on whatever emotions we have going on at a given moment. We can be quite irrational a lot of the time. And this has been a problem for a long time. And by a long time, I mean since the dawn of civilization. When the ancient city of Athens was being threatened by the Spartans, a politician named Pericles, who championed rationality, tried to convince all the other Athenians to wait a minute and try to work things out before going into total war mode. Unfortunately, he got the plague and died, and then there was a drawn-out war that almost destroyed Athens. The secret to Pericles' wisdom was patience. This is what you can use today to help you not make irrational decisions. Whenever there was a big decision to be made, Pericles would withdraw, think it over, and consider all the possible consequences. Whenever possible, increase your reaction time so that you're not just making decisions in the heat of the moment. Narcissism and you. Along with our tendency to be irrational, humans also tend to need attention. We can be pretty narcissistic. Everyone can have an ego sometimes. It's a spectrum that ranges from a normal and healthy level of pride to deep narcissism. Deep narcissists are people with a very messed up sense of self. They see other people as just being an extension of themselves. Basically, they think they're the main character in the game and everyone else are just NPCs. Narcissists lack empathy, which is pretty bad for them since empathy is one of the best tools you can have in life. Empathy is the ability to sense what other people are feeling. It will help you connect to the people in your life. It's also good for recognizing people's true character and not just the public mask they wear. Everyone is always trying to win people over by presenting a certain version of themselves. As Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage. So you shouldn't just accept what you see or hear about someone as being their true character. If you want to know what someone is really like, look at their actions. Striving for superior character. Everyone's character is a mix of strong and weak qualities. Some of this is just genetic. For example, researchers have actually found evidence that some newborn babies are more hostile than others. Some of it's just how you were raised. Some of it you pick up later in life. But these traits, even the innate ones, are not a prison. You can control them. Even the weak ones can be used to your advantage. Just like how the best hand doesn't always win in poker, you can take what you've been dealt in life and make the best of it by trying to strive for superior character. Being short-sighted. People tend to be short-sighted. We're much more likely to react to something that is right in front of us and ignore long-term problems. This goes back to when human survival was based on immediate concerns, such as finding food and avoiding getting torn to shreds by tigers. But in techno-industrial society, most of your problems are not going to be very tiger-like. In order to perform at your best, you need to recognize this tendency to neglect the big picture. It's always better to have a far-sighted perspective. When you make decisions, take a step back and think about what the less obvious consequences will be down the road. Self-sabotage and positivity. Do you ever feel as though you're cursed and doomed to failure? If so, this is probably due to certain traits that you need to recognize and control. You likely have an internal problem rather than an external one. You need to look within and see what's causing all these negative outcomes. One of the biggest contributors to self-sabotage is a negative attitude. Luckily, this is something that you can actually change. You have to let go of negative emotions. If you hold on to and repress feelings of anger or worthlessness, they'll only end up creating a prison for you. If there's a dark side to your personality, the first step is to acknowledge it. Only then can you start to move forward. Feelings of grandeur. You have to be careful that you don't move too hard in the opposite direction, however. Negative thoughts and self-doubt can be a big obstacle, but delusions of grandeur can also become a problem. You've probably seen this if you've ever known someone who has experienced success. You probably looked on in wonder as that success went to their heads fast and they proceeded to completely lose touch with reality. This has been called the law of grandiosity. When you experience success, it's easy to forget about all the mentors, teammates, timing, and luck that helped you get there. You can start to think that you did it all on your own. During the best of times, it's important to remember your own strengths and weaknesses. Even when you make it, you need to be realistic, masculine and feminine. Just like with previously mentioned character traits, we get our masculinity and femininity from a combination of our genes and our upbringing. Due to the influence of society, men tend to repress their feminine side and women tend to repress their masculine side. But in reality, we're more powerful if we embrace this duality within us. For starters, it improves relationships. You've become more empathetic to people of the opposite sex. It can also improve creativity and confidence. Men and women think about the world in different ways. Only the best minds have ready access to both the male and female ways of thinking, so that they can look further down the road than everyone else. Group mentality and entitlement. We like to think of ourselves as unique and independent individuals, but if you pay attention to human nature for more than about 30 seconds, you'll see that we really spend a lot of time worrying about what others think about us and how well we fit in. We've come a long way from our tribal roots. However, people still tend to devolve into primitive and reactionary thinking when we're part of a group. You'll be better off if you recognize this tendency that's within all of us so you can try not to let it affect your decision-making. Another similar human tendency is entitlement. It's easy to feel entitled to certain things, but entitlement is really not going to help you. If you feel entitled to something, you're probably not going to work for it. That means unless you get lucky, you're not going to get it. Entitlement can also bring on a lot of resentment from others. Controlled aggression. Another potentially negative trait is aggression. Everyone has aggression. It helped make humans the dominant species on the planet. Butterflies, for instance, don't really have that aggressive instinct that humans do. Don't try to repress aggression. This will only make you passive-aggressive, which means you'll be annoying instead of openly a jerk. Repressing aggression can also misfire and make you be aggressive towards yourself and hate yourself. The best thing to do is to find a healthy outlet for aggression, so you can put it to good use. First, recognize where your aggression comes from. It could be from insecurities or wanting to control your environment. Once you understand your aggression, you can direct it to productive ends like realizing goals and ambitions. You can become fearless and productive. Generational values and death. It's not just important to understand your own personality and values. It's important to understand generational values and how they influence decision-making. The world is more connected than ever, and it's common for people to live well into their 70s and 80s. This means that you can only really understand what goes on today by knowing the historical context. You can only try to guess at where we're going by realizing how we got to where we are right now. Finally, one of the biggest hidden influences on human decisions has always been mortality. Most people prefer not to think about death, which is understandable. But its incredible influence on us is exactly why we need to be thinking about it. You can't deny the inevitability of death. When you embrace death, it can serve as a great motivator for leading a productive life. Not only that, but it's a great way to gain empathy, because death is the great equalizer that unites all humans. Now that you understand the laws of human nature, you're ready to get to work. How do you plan on using these laws to make more informed decisions?